Ruslan.
This may be the first and last video I do on this topic. This is not something that I like to make a part of like my wheelhouse or my brand or whatever, what have you. This is just me simply objectively speaking on the topic of Christians in dating in 2020. Now, granted, a little bit about me. I've been with my wife since I was 19. She was 17 when we started dating. I was 23. She was 21 when we got married. We've been married. It'll be 13 years in July. We have a 6-year-old. I am not an expert on how to date or what it's like to date in 2020. I can only speak about what things were like in my age, but I do have access to a lot of newlyweds who are probably closer to some of your guys' ages. So I wanted to talk about this because I think this is very important, and I think there's just so much misinformation and so much just not good stuff here in terms of this comment that I got. And I don't think this person meant anything by it. I just think this is their reality. So I got a comment from a guy named Eric Francis Silk. This is on my interview with Brenda from God is Great. And I wanted to read it to you guys. And I wanted to go in depth about my reaction to just some of this thinking. And I think it's extremely problematic. All right, so let me pull this up. It says, my own problem with what is commonly called purity culture comes from a reactionary post-conservative place, one which primarily looks at how it affects men rather than women. The issue being, unless you get married at 19 in Bible college, then as a man you are left to navigate a hyper-competitive dating market in a culture where men often don't get married until 30. And somehow the conservative church expects men to remain virgins all the while. The Bible's advice just doesn't work under current conditions. In Jewish culture, both men and women were married at young ages. In Greco-Roman culture, women were married young and men married later, but were free to sow their wild oats until then. In both cultures, marriages were contracted or arranged for economic reasons instead of being based on romantic compatibility. The Bible doesn't anticipate the very different set of conditions we now live in. Wow. All right. Now let's go read some more of these comments. Statistically, the average age of first marriage for men is 29. That's a reality that needs to be taken into account. I'm happy that some people can find spouses in their early 20s, but some of us are far older than that. I just think that the Bible's view of sexuality makes sense under current, doesn't make sense under current conditions where it's very difficult to get married. Biblical marriage no longer exists in this world. The church has largely accepted the modern meaning of marriage as a partnership based on romantic compatibility, while simultaneously holding to a view of sex that assumes an economic view of marriage. Sheesh! Now, all I gotta say is, listen, if you're struggling with this concept, I'm not gonna rag on you. I do want to speak some truth, okay? Very basically, okay? Now, first of all, what you believe will determine how you behave, okay? What you believe will determine how you behave. If this is your reality, I guess it's too hard to remain celibate until I get married because, you know, I'll be 30. The average age to get married in America is 29. Guess I'll be 30. There's no way to remain celibate until you're that age. So, well, guess what? You will behave accordingly. What you believe will determine how you behave. Jesus repeatedly said, you know, if you love me, you will obey my commands. Hebrews, you know, faith is evidence of things not hoped for, right? The definition of faith throughout Scripture is an active faith, meaning that what you believe determines how you behave. What you believe determines how you carry yourself, right? Those things that you set deep in your heart will become and manifest your reality in a lot of ways. And that's not on some super duper new agey vibes. It's just the truth. I'll give you guys a very tangible example. Here's a very, 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 very tangible example. Some of you guys may or may not know, me and my wife are expecting our second baby in April. Woo! Yeah, I'm super excited. And guess what? What happens is a lot of times men end up putting on the marriage weight. And because of the lockdowns and the gyms not being open and not being able to play basketball, and also, probably maybe some subconscious pressure or stress, I've put on about 20 pounds, believe it or not. Since my lowest in COVID was 175, and now I'm like 196. Now, I can wallow and be sad about that and be like, well, I guess that's just what it is. I just gotta be, I gotta go back to being fat Ruslan, right? But here's the deal. What did I do? I went back to what I knew worked for my fitness. What does that mean? I started logging my macros, keeping track of my food, and within a matter of one day, it was 196. Within a matter of one day, I dropped 3 pounds, not starving myself. I don't do that. Not taking no fat burning pills, none of that nonsense, not doing a liquid only. Just simply logging what I eat, making sure I hit my body my body weight in grams of protein, keeping my carbs under 125, following the meal plan that I knew worked. I knew this worked. Just one day I lost 3 pounds. Now let's say some of that body weight, nevertheless lost 2 pounds. And I didn't even do a full workout. We just went and did sprints for 20 minutes on Saturdays, right? And I bet you I'll lose more weight. Why? Because if I don't believe my meal plan will cause the results I needed to cause, I will not follow the meal plan, right? I just won't. But if you believe the system will work, it will work, right? If you believe the things that the systems, the principles, the layout of things, it will work for you if you work it. This is the same thing with Dave Ramsey and Financial Peace University, getting out of debt. If you work the system, it will work. Now, why am I talking about this? Because the reality is, if we're going to look at the average American getting married at 29, the average American also has $10,000 in debt or more. The average American also has a bunch of student loan debt. The average American also is overweight. The average American, right? We can just go off of averages. And if we want to look at what the average is, it's not very good. Okay, it's not very good. That's the truth. It's just not very good. So what you believe about these situations will impact how you behave. If you believe that you got to wait until you're 30 and suffer and struggle, and then the only way out is to sin and fornicate and cohabitate and do all these things, then that is how you will live. But if you say, hey, there's another way, and I'll tell you what the other way is here in a second, but there's another way. So the first thing I want you guys to understand, a lot of what we believe about anything, dating especially, you will behave that way. What you believe about your finances, self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe about your body, self-fulfilling prophecy. Right? So let's just start with that. Let's just start with your mentality. Now, if we're going to talk about how do these things happen, the second thing we also have to factor in is your community. Right? Your community. I'm going to make it a point, if you guys like this video and if this video is successful, I will make it a point to repeatedly bring on young people who got married before they were 25, many of whom live in San Diego, which is one of the most expensive places to live in the world, who are providing for their wives or their wives are going to school. Maybe the man is working, or maybe they're both working, dual incomes, living on their own at 21, 22 years old, married for a couple years and doing great. The truth is, my community is way more people that got married younger than 25 than got married over 25. I'm talking about guys like T. Ross the Giant. I'm talking about guys like Zach Sparazzo. My buddy John Keith just got engaged. Believe, so many of my close friends all got married under 25. And yes, it was hard, but they knew that, hey, I'm not going to burn with lust. I'm going to get married. I'm going to figure this thing out, right? So this notion that you have to wait is utter nonsense. It's just nonsense. And I'll get to the deeper issue below it. Here in just a sec. I got married at 23. I've been married for almost 13 years, right? And that didn't come easy. That just took some time. It was work, right? So I think it's also important to know your community is going to determine how you view these things. If you live in a community and there isn't a bunch of people getting married young and having successful marriages, then that's going to be your reality, right? And so some people are saying 16, 17. I mean, that's very young. I don't know about that. But again, I'll say 19 to 22, a lot of people, like the majority of folks at my church, as I'm just going through the Rolodex, one of the young ladies that models for us, she just got engaged. I think she's 21. They're going to be getting married soon. The folks on staff at our church, Jake, he's 20, 21, right? A lot of folks get married much younger than we think. Now, shout out to Pastor Roy. He said he got married on his 24th birthday. That's awesome. Now, let's talk about the third thing. And this is the part where I'm going to get on some of your nerves. Single people, just buckle up, all right? I don't care how old you are, because this applies to everybody, but just buckle up. The third part is you attract what you are. You attract what you are. What do you mean, Ruslan? You attract what you are. This is a universal principle, I think, by and large, that just about psychologists, Christians, whatever, can all acknowledge this, okay? You attract what you are. 1 Corinthians, Paul writes about bad company corrupting good character, right? Meaning that there's something about us that will be corrupted when we are around certain people, right? They say that your five closest friends, if you take their average income and you average it out, that'll be your average income, okay? That'll be your average income. So think about that for a second. Just kind of visualize your five closest friends, take their income, average that out. That's usually your average income, right? And so your community is going to determine how you act, and then you're also going to attract what you are. What do I mean by that? I mean this. I got a buddy of mine. He's going to remain anonymous, and he was being pursued by an amazing young lady, and he was being very vain and superficial. He's being very vain and superficial, and I was extremely annoyed with him for being vain and superficial. And he just felt entitled to have, I don't know how to say this, to have a really thin girl who he was dating. He just felt entitled to that. And I asked him, I said, hey bro, do you think you're in great shape? And he said, yeah. I said, really? Right? This is really when I was on my kick, right? I said, really? You think you're in great shape? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Let's go to the gym. He said, for what? I said, we're gonna measure your body fat. He said, my body fat? I said, yeah, that's the real, like, I'm not gonna, give you a hard time about your weight. Maybe your weight, your weight sits different on your frame, and we're just gonna say you're big boned or whatever, right? So I said, hey, let's go to the gym. He said, all right. Took him to the gym, measured his body fat. You know what his body fat percentage was? It's like 32%. 32, that's technically morbidly obese. Okay? That's not big bones. That's not your frame. Okay? 32%. I said, bro, you're not in shape, bruh. You're not. You're overweight. You're 32% body fat. Okay, now for context, elite athletes are like 10% and under. Average, if you're like in decent shape, you're at like 15%. I'm probably walking around at about 18 to 21% because your boy put on some of that COVID weight, right? So I sat this man down. I said, bro, you're delusional. You are delusional. You attract what you are. If you think she's a little heavy, it's because you're a little heavy. So how about you be open-minded and sober about who you are and let this young lady, pursue this young lady, go on a date, see if there's something there. And this is something maybe you guys can work on together. Some of y'all work on together. Guess what happened? He listened. He listened, and they don't listen to me a lot, but he listened to me. I love this person. He listened to me, and guess what happened? They got married. And they had a kid, and they got a beautiful marriage, and they follow different meals and protocols, and they'll go through spurts of working out, and they've lost weight and gained weight and lost weight, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But imagine if he stayed on this entitled, elite nonsense. Ugh. No, I deserve a girl that's 5'7.5", and she needs to have green eyes, but they can't be too dark green. They need to really pop and be green, and she needs to have, like that Beyonce hair color, and she needs to have abs. Yep, she needs to have abs and a big butt. It's like, what? Like, what reality are some of us living on? You attract what you are. Okay? You attract what you are. So if you don't like what you're attracting, you need to take a sober look in the mirror and say, what is going on in me? If you keep attracting emotionally draining and needy people, look in the mirror and say, what is going on in me that these people keep gravitating towards me? Do I got some weird codependency stuff that I'm not thinking about? If you keep attracting people that are a little heavy set and you're wondering why all these big girls talk, well, have you looked in the mirror, right? Have you looked in the mirror? And so obviously there's a line here, right? Obviously there's a line here. In terms of like let's not jump into body dysmorphia and all that nonsense. Right now, I'm not advocating for that. But if you have high standards, you got to be sober and say, hey, and is this where I'm at? And by the way, yes, there are people who have heavy women who date skinny guys and and some people have that. But usually there's other variables going into that, meaning that maybe the dude is kind of sloppy, but man, maybe he's an amazing provider, right? Like maybe he's very entrepreneurial. And so the really young, pretty girl is into him because he's entrepreneurial. She sees him as a mate because he can provide and he can take care of the family, right? You see how that offsets? But by and large, guys, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? We have to be honest with ourselves. So in this concept of dating, let's just be real. Let's just be real. Let's just say, hey, if you want to attract attractive people, are you attractive? And there are things you can do to influence your level of attraction. You can get in shape. You can lose weight. You can get fit. You can eat better. You can drink more water. You can take care of your skin. Right? I'm gonna go a little deeper. This is gonna hurt some of y'all feelings. Okay? This is gonna hurt some of y'all feelings but this is only for the superficial people. This is only for the superficial people. But if you're super superficial and you keep attracting people you feel like you look better than, and you don't know why, but you maybe you go check out the dental club, right? You can get those things for your teeth. I'm thinking about getting some just because I don't like how my thing is, right? And you pay, I think it's like $2,000, and you can spread that out over, I don't know, a year. John Keith just did it, right? He just did it, and he got his grill fixed. Right? So within reason, right? Within reason. If you're broke, ignore what I just said. But within reason. So if you are on this, I need an 8, I need a 9, I need a 10. Are you an 8 or a 9 or a 10, right? And this is something that, again, we just don't talk about. So shout out to all the people with jacked up teeth. I got jacked up teeth. I got a silver tooth. My grill is messed up, yo. Communist people are just, communist people who come from communist Russia. We had really bad dental hygiene. My mom is about to get her whole grill redone because her teeth are so bad. And I don't like how misaligned my teeth are. So I thought about going through, I think it's called the Dental Club, and there's a couple different ones. Now, those are some very practical advices, right? Some very practical advices. But don't act like you're just doomed, right? You're just doomed. For me and my wife, fitness is a huge priority for us. Fitness, health, huge priority. Now, she's not as like on it in terms of counting macros and nutrition plans, like all the stuff I want. She's not on that wave. But yo, my wife she's due in April. So what is that? So she's like 7 months pregnant. She goes to the gym twice a week, at least, right? She goes to the gym twice a week with a trainer. Right? Like, this is a value of ours. Which all goes back to self-awareness. It all goes back to self-awareness. What are your values? Right? What are your values? Who are you? You're going to attract people with similar values. So, that's part 1. Okay? If you guys want part 2, we're going to start talking about providing useful skills, finances, how to overcome those barriers to become someone that can get married at a younger age, right? Therapy, dealing with your spiritual issues. If you guys want part 2, give this video a thumbs up. That would help me out a ton. I got to go. But if you guys want part 2, do let me know because I could go deeper on this. This is a comedy special. Yo, I'm just being real. Like, I feel like some people just won't keep it a buck with you. And these are just things that I've said to people in my personal life that I just been like, yo, you got to stop, fam. You got to cut it out. And that's just the most recent memory I have. Like literally taking somebody to the gym and making them check their body fat percentage. And then finally it all set in and he was like, yo, I'm overweight. It's like the person didn't know he was overweight this entire time. He was being mad corny about it. So if you guys want part 2, like this video, let me know. Joshua the king came down and bore it all. Yeah, conversations front of the fireplace. All of my mistakes, how do I erase? Wanna operate at a higher pace. Birth pains causing the body to dilate. On a first name basis with the worst pain facing. Moments in isolation. See, I was hoping I would do this to get more family time. A busy mind and worried heart, is this not where I reside? I subscribed that all that traveling wasn't doing well for my soul. Glad I never made it when my name went through the rumor mill. I suppose that the Lord knows I'd have failed. Instead I'm doing well at home, out my shell. Good book off the shelf, more dubs off the else. I told Ray they ain't just gon' know.